Okay, so we're talking about all these ways we can help our kids navigate the academic pressures they face. And we're going to do one more round of how we can act in different ways to kind of help them through this sort of tough time of dealing with their academics. And one of the things we can do really well is to sort of try to focus more on the process and not the product. We sort of talked about this in a way that we need to change our thought patterns and realize the process is important. But you might ask, okay, now that we've changed our thought pattern, how do we do that in real time with our kids? And this gets to kind of how we might do that in the context of grades, right? When we focus on grades, what did you get on the paper when they come home with whatever the grade was and read, that's the product. How can we switch to a more process-focused approach? And one way to do that is to get curious about the student's process, right? They bring you the grade, you almost don't even look at it like, oh, I'm like, whether it's good or bad, like, I'm just curious how you got there. Like, what was, like, did you study differently? Like, was it easier? Was it hard? Don't ask about the product at all. Just get them curious, agentive about what their process was. And say, well, that sounds like a good process. What can you do better next time? Push about the process part, not the product part, right? You'll instantly take some of the stress away from them that they feel about it and kind of push them back to this extrinsic motivation. And of course, we've talked about why that's so essential, because you heard before about studies like this where if you focus too much on the product and you're worried about the product, it's going to convince them that they can't get to the product. And that's not what you want to be doing. So we need to kind of do that more. And I think one way we can do that is to just stop checking in with kids academically. We often ask these questions that can often sound to kids like we're checking about the product, not the process. And so just kind of forcing yourself to ask about this less, I think, can be really helpful. Because again, you're probably asking about it in what you think is a nice way, but they hear it in a very different way. And it causes them to do very frustrating things like roll their eyes at you and get so mad and so on. The other thing we can do is to develop a little bit more collaborative troubleshooting. And so this idea of collaborative troubleshooting actually comes a lot from the work of David Yeager, professor at UT Austin. Another great book I recommend called 10 to 25, The Science of Motivating Young People, where he talks about how we inadvertently sometimes do things that are trying to motivate our kids that wind up demotivating them, because it often kind of takes away their agency in ways we don't mean to, but they hear it like that. So how can we do that a little bit better? And one of his strategies is this idea of collaborative troubleshooting, which he defines as this way of responding to mistakes or errors that makes people feel safe talking about them, but kind of agentive in their own ability to come up with solutions and overcome these limitations, right? And so a quick way to think about collaborative troubleshooting is to think about it as having three parts. Your first attempt when you're dealing with a situation is to surface thinking about it. What have they already thought about? Did they already come up with their own ways of problem solving? You're just asking them the questions of kind of what they've done in a really curious way. Then your second step is to validate that there's some things in this process that they got right, that you're proud of them about, right? That they're already doing well. And then the third step is to try to find ways to bridge to better understanding. You've figured out what they know so far and what they're getting right. How can you kind of not give them the answer, but point them in the direction of a next step that might be helpful, right? Where they're the agents that get to figure out what that is. And in all these cases, what you want to be doing is to do this with authentic questions and genuine curiosity. Not like, why would you think of something stupid like that, right? That's a question, but it's not an authentic one. It's like, you really want to be like, I'm so curious why you thought to do it that way and what you were doing. Like, assume that they're like intelligent beings that are doing things for reasons, that have their own explanations, and just like get curious and ask them about it, right? So let's take a particular case. Let's see, your kid's doing math homework. This is an example that kind of came up before, and she's really struggling with it. She's feeling really frustrated. Your first goal is to kind of surface the thinking so far. So here's the kind of statements that could work. Could you show me what you've already tried? Can I understand your reasoning? Like, I know you've been working on this at school, so I'm sure you have some good strategies. Can you show me what you've done so far so I can see it? Assume that they've done something. Or another way to say it, look, I know you already know stuff about this, so I don't want to tell you things that you already know, because that's not respectful of your time. You've already tried this out. But I have to ask you a few questions to kind of get a sense of what you've tried so far so I can know where to help you, right? You see how that looks so different than taking over? Like, this kid already feels more empowered, because you're like assuming they're smart about what they're doing, right? It's a subtle shift, but it matters so much for the kid. So that's surface thinking. Then you do this part about validating what they got right. When they tell you what they've thought of so far, you kind of say, I'm actually really impressed that you knew how to set this up. Like, we just need to kind of do this next step, right? Or, I love the thinking that you showed when you did this, and really kind of find a thing that they're describing right. Sometimes this is even very helpful in other situations where the kids are really messing up, right? An example that David uses in the book is a case of a kid who went to a party and wound up like having, like, people got really drunk and like bad things happened at the party. And instead of screaming at them, like when they get back, you do this. You surface thinking, I just want to understand what happened, what you were thinking. And it was like, well, I wanted to stay there because my friend was there and I was worried about what was happening. And like, I didn't want to leave because I'm like trying to impress the folks on my team. But then things were getting out of hand and I wasn't sure what to do. I thought to call you, but I didn't know what to do. Then you validate what they got right. Like, I'm glad you were thinking of your friends. Like, you don't want to leave your friends in that situation. I'm proud that you thought of that. And I'm really glad that even though you didn't end up calling me, you thought of that too. That was the right kind of way of thinking, right? Where you, first, again, what was going on? Because you don't want to be mad at them for something they weren't even thinking. But then you show them, like, we're on the same page here, right? And then you jump to number 3, which is sort of bridge to better understanding, which is don't give them the answer, but kind of get them a little closer. So something like, let's build on what you already figured out. You already figured out so much. I wonder what would happen if, not the answer, but like, I would think about the color or something where they kind of just get them a little closer. So you already know this part. What can you tell me about this next part? Or you already understood the really tricky part. Like you did the hard part, right? Like, how can we apply this in your next step? What you already learned, what do you think, right? And the important key is that you have to avoid the compulsion to tell, because you're gonna know more about the math problem. You're gonna know more about what to do at a party that's sensible and doesn't get you in trouble. You're always gonna know more. But if you tell them, the collaborative troubleshooting falls apart. So you have to withhold. But if you achieve that, then they're gonna feel agentive and figure it out. And they're gonna walk away with a belief that you believe in them. None of the stuff that we saw before in that Julia Leonard thing, you're gonna help them know that this is good.